guys. Okay, I'm always talking about Byron Katie on this channel and the wonderful work that she does, the self-inquiry process that she does. And I just wanted to, I know I've done another video about this, an instructional video on how to do her work, but I feel like going more into it now that I've talked to so many of you who've tried to do it, and it feels really awkward and uncomfortable to do. I just thought I would address some of the typical traps and things that happen as you go to do her work, to see if you might be able to try it again. Try it again. Don't give up, because there's a bit of a learning curve, but it is so worth it. One of the things you need to do is definitely read one of her books. It's spelled Byronkatie. And the book that I started with was called Loving What Is. So that's the first thing you need to do, is wrap your head around the concepts. Wrap your head around, because she says, certain things like we shouldn't be so politically correct. And I think she's absolutely right. Now that we know we've been tricked by the dark side to believe certain things just so that we shame ourselves. Everyone's walking around being so polite and please and thank you. And there's nothing wrong with doing that as long as you're actually being authentic and you really do care. When you say, how's your day? And somebody says, really shitty. Do you care? Do you stop and you ask, like, what's going on? Or, anyway, it's not about walking around minding your P's and Q's and being fake nicety. So she helps you to get real with yourself, and she helps you to see just helps you to become much more self-aware. And eventually, like, the more if you're really committed to it, and you either do it every single time that you are upset about anything in the least bit, or you do it every single day for like 2 months solid, you're going to start to have a really incredible sense of humor. But it really teaches you essentially not to take yourself so dang seriously, and to see yourself in everyone, because everyone is just a reflection of us. So everything that you'll see, you'll see that how that works with this. Hang on, let me get a drink. Maybe I should set it over there. I put some pink in my hair. For those of you who knew me back when, I used to have like the whole back of my hair was pink, hot pink, like that little flower orchid. Okay, so let's take, let's say that somebody just really, let's say that you're being disrespected by somebody. Somebody's putting you down, okay? They're putting you down, and every time that you go around that person, it just feels really shitty. So we're going to use an example like that, because that's never fun to be around. Like, either they make fun of you, or they just make it just appears that they just really don't like you. Or maybe they say things behind your back. And like, think of a situation where somebody's doing something that just feels really shitty, okay? We're going to use that example and move through it together. So first of all, get yourself a notepad like this with the spiral bound at the top. Get a pen that's easy to use, that writes really easy, because you'll be doing a lot of writing with it. And for this example, one of the most important things is to come up with the stressful thought. And so coming up with a stressful thought, you think to yourself, he shouldn't treat me that way. So if that gives you anxiety and you think, yeah, that needs to change, he really shouldn't treat me that way, it's just not fair, it's not cool, it's not whatever it is, and you're judging it, perfect, that's great. If it really doesn't, if you don't get any feeling from it, and if you're just like, she shouldn't have sneezed at the breakfast table, oh, she should cover her mouth or something, then you could write that down. And even though it seems like a little thing, if it irritated you or bothered you, then it's good to work on even little things, because every single exercise you do retrains your brain and rewires your brain to let stress go, and to let fear go, and to let judgment go, and everything. So work on the little things if you need to. It's not like you need to go into something heart-wrenching, that happened in your past that's really difficult for you to face. That's what's so cool about her work, is that you don't have to, you don't have to be re-traumatized all over again and hash that stuff up. All you got to do is start teaching your brain to let go of the ego. So which is also another thing that you should know about doing her work, is that your ego at every freaking turn, I'm telling you guys, will try to get you not to do it. I swear to you, because your ego knows that it will free you. So that's how determined you need to be to do it every single day, or on every single stressful thought that you have about something or somebody. Okay, so you go to do the exercise, and so the exercise, I mean, let me list off a number of different thoughts that you could choose. They shouldn't do this. They shouldn't have done that. They should do that in a different way because it makes me feel blank. That never should have happened. Shoulds are a really good way to start to get the hang of how to work these exercises. So it's actually something that you would actually think, they should never have done that. Like, what do you say to your friend when you're really mad about something? He should never have said that, though. He should never have cheated. He should never have kept that from me. He should never, like, whatever it is that you're shitting on that you complain to your friend about, that's exactly the way you write the thought down. And the more upset that you allow yourself to be, the more it's going to validate you. So use swear words, which we are going to do in this exercise. So if you're sensitive to swear words, do not watch the rest of this. I mean, it's not going to be, horrible, but I'm just saying, you got to be really, this isn't the time to be proper or polite or to do things nicely. This is where you really get to be yourself. Okay. You got to just give yourself permission, because if you watch Matt Kahn's video, Respecting the Shadow, what you'll find out about human behavior is that the more that you resist something or say something shouldn't be a certain way, like I shouldn't lie, I should always be polite, I should, be gentle and kind with myself, I should always speak kindly, I should act spiritual all the time, whatever that is, the more you're going to create more of, you're causing resistance. If you say somebody should never cheat, for example, you're going to end up being the cheater. You're going to cheat on somebody, or you're cheating them in some other way, shape, or form. So the more that you can embrace and say, I have the option to cheat if I want to cheat, but I don't choose to cheat because I don't want to feel the guilt. And I also want to feel, better about myself when I go to bed at night. And I don't want to feel like judged if I get caught. And I don't want to, it's like I am specifically choosing by myself and my own freedom and my own sovereignty within me. I am not choosing to do that. I don't want to have that feeling in my life of living a double life. No, thank you. So you are just making a conscious decision to not have that. But that's much more powerful than judging yourself and saying, I shouldn't be living this double life. I shouldn't be cheating. I should do the right thing. All that. But for this exercise, to get the hang of it and to get really used to it, it's good to judge someone else. Don't do it on yourself. Do it on some kind of a should about somebody else. Okay. All right. So that's the first thing, is you want to come up with, like, sometimes, like I've worked with people on, and they'll just say something kind of fluffy, like, he should be on time, or, I mean, that's fine, but you want to use something or try to reach for something like, okay, so like my stepmom shouldn't act that way, for example. And I'll have to ask them, why shouldn't she act that way? So go even deeper with it. Like, well, because it irritates me. Well, why does it irritate you? Well, because she's putting herself above me. Bingo, you've got it. Then you should say, she shouldn't put herself above me. Who does she think she is? That's what you write down as your stressful thought, right? So you're only going to get as much out of the exercise as you go deeper with it. You have to be willing to really say, okay, that's not really actually a big part of your ego's trick, is to trick you into doing something fluffy, which is, it's okay if you want to do, but you're not going to get the effect, because by the end of the exercise, you want to feel relief. You want to feel like, oh, thank God that's gone. You're not going to be doing that if it's something little frivolous or superficial so much. Okay. And so search for something that really bothers you, or really gets your heart pumping, or really scares you, or it really bothers you, just really is frustrating, or really, maybe it's overwhelming, or maybe it's just grr, So get to that. The second question, she tells you to ask if it's true or if it's not. The fact of the matter is none of it is true. No thought that you think is true, because there is no past and there is no future. There is only the present moment. And even when you think a thought, it's gone, and you don't know if it's true, because what's happening, the only thing that's happening right now in this moment, especially, is you and I looking at each other right now. That's it. I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. I'm looking at you, like, energetically or whatever, but it's not, there's nothing else really happening in this moment. So it's always going to be no. If you want to ask yourself whether it's true or not, just to make the point of no, nothing's actually true. Even if you were to recollect or recall a situation, it's still not going to be true, because you only remember, it's selective memory. You're only going to remember what you want to remember in any given moment. And it may not be what somebody else would remember who was in the exact same situation. So it's really selective. Another thing to think about when you're going through this is, I don't care if people look at my stuff, my Byron Katie, all day long. They can browse through my notebooks, because I know that every single person on the planet who has an ego, which is everybody who's not enlightened yet, everybody has the same exact thoughts. So nobody could point to that and say, oh, you felt that way. Yeah. And so has every flipping person on the planet in some way, shape, or form. That's one thing that this exercise really helps you to wrap your head around. And that's why you start to feel one with everyone, is because everybody's had the thought. Even if one thing, somebody thinks murder, and somebody thinks I want to do this other really drastic thing, that you think, no, I would never have that thought. And that's not true. You don't know if you never would ever have that thought. You don't know what drives people to do things. You could be brain controlled. You don't know if you're mind controlled or not. All of a sudden somebody flips the switch someday and you go off on the neighbor or something. And what are you going to do if it's like if you have an ego, you're capable of anything at all under the sun. So every single thought, there's no new thoughts. And there are artificial intelligence, all ego, all those thought forms that come at you. I believe they're all artificial intelligence. So none of it's yours. It's all a pre-program. It's all doubt this. You're insecure this, and you're not good enough for that. And they're not going to like you once they know you. And they'll know you're full of baloney and you're just faking it or whatever, or they're going to judge you, whatever it is. Okay. Nothing new under the planet, nothing at all new that you can possibly think. So it doesn't even matter what you put down on the paper. Nobody can judge you for it, because you can turn right back around. And as you see with this exercise, you'll see all the different sides of it. Okay. So you can ask yourself, is it true? But it's always going to be no if you're being honest with yourself. But you could say yes if you feel like that mad or something. Fine. I just don't see the point of asking that, but whatever. You can do it if you want. So the other thing she asks you to do is who would you be, or how would you live your life different, or how would you live your life? Oh, how do you live your life when I skipped a step. Okay. So the first thing you need to do that you actually need to write down is, how do I react when I believe that thought is true? So we're going to go back to this thought. Blank shouldn't treat me that way. It's such bullshit. That's what you would think. That's what you would say to your best friend. So that's what you write down. Time to get real, right? They shouldn't treat me like that. It's such bullshit. All right. So you're going to take that and you're going to say, how do I react when I think that? Well, and I wrote down some examples here. I get anxiety thinking about it. I lose sleep. I feel powerless. I get angry. I bash that person to friends, or talk to your friends about it because you're so stressed. You're just like, guess what happened? Guess what Billy did, or whatever. So you bash them. Then you feel guilty that you bash them. Maybe. I harbor resentment. I seek revenge. I stress eat, or go for a run, or work out, or swear a lot, or whatever you want to put in there. This is the time where you start to become more self-aware. I eat more. I eat less. I do this bad thing. I do that. I start drinking. Whatever, just really assess very, very thoroughly at this point in the exercise, every single thing that you do. From the moment you wake up all the way through to, like, how do I react with my friends and family when I think that thought? Do I go complain to my friends and family, for example, or when my mom calls, do I vent to my mom and tell her everything that they've been saying and doing? And is it an ongoing theme? Um, write down every single way that it impacts your life, having that stress there. Okay. I put out memes to influence their behavior. Are they watching me on social media? Maybe I'll put this meme out there so they know they better not do that. They better straighten out. They better, so you can, and you start to be able to make fun of yourself this way too. You can start to laugh at yourself. So these are all the different things that you do, and be very thorough about it so you can become more self-aware. And then the next thing is to ask yourself, who would I be if I had the same exact circumstances? So the person is still treating you like shit. The person is still disrespecting you and acting really shitty and saying stuff to you that you just know that they're not treating you right. It doesn't feel right. Maybe even your friends and family are like, why do you put up with being talked to that way? Or, any of that stuff. So you go back through and you ask yourself, okay, I'm in the same exact situation. Who would I be, or what would I do differently if I had amnesia and that thought could not even come to me? Like I couldn't even think that thought at all, that they shouldn't treat me that way. It's such bullshit, right? So you're in the kitchen, or you're in the environment, or you're at work, and here they come, right? What comes to mind is Office Space. Do you remember when, if you guys haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. Like this guy gets hypnotized not to be stressed by anything, inadvertently. It really affects him, and he goes to work and he doesn't give a crap about his job anymore or anything anybody thinks. I forget what he was hypnotized to do specifically, but it was something along the lines of like not really giving a crap anymore. And it's kind of like what happens when you're enlightened, but it's like that when you're enlightened, but you do care very, very much. You care, but it's not the kind of care that we show each other here, where there's a bunch of drama stuff. It's a care that comes from your soul expanding to another human being out of compassion and love, and like an energetic embrace, more like holding the space for that person in a loving space. Anyway, I'm all over the place. So what you can do on this part is to imagine going through, who would I be if I couldn't even think the thought that they shouldn't be doing it? Well, I'd walk through the kitchen, and I would probably maybe be present in the moment, and I would pay more attention to my breath and the way that my body feels when I'm moving than I would pay attention to what they're saying or what they're doing. I would maybe I would think, maybe I don't know if I enjoy being around somebody who talks to me that way. I think I might make a plan to live elsewhere, or to do something else, or to get them out of my life, or to have boundaries. Maybe it would feel very uncomfortable, and I would just say to them, please stop acting like this. Please stop talking to me. I'm not going to tolerate talking to me that way anymore. But you're still not thinking they shouldn't treat me that way. Instead, you're actually just responding in the moment, right? You're just saying how you feel, and you're observing it, and you're saying, I don't like that. I don't like that. What if you were to just do that? So there's no thought about it. You're just kind of going, that's really kind of shitty what you're doing to me right there. Did you realize you say that to me sometimes? You know what I mean? So let's go. One good thing is to go back through the prior list and to ask yourself, okay, let's go through that whole list again. Only ask yourself what you would do different. So, and get anxiety thinking about it. So if I was still picturing my boss or whoever treating me a certain way that I didn't like, that I felt was bullshit, would I still get anxiety thinking about it? I might, or I might not even think about it. And it might feel inspired to get another job, or to be an entrepreneur, or to do something different, because I recognize my vibration going to work is different than the vibration right now in this moment of peace at my home, So you might ponder it and look at it, but you'd kind of see it as kind of like, there's a place down the block where there's a bunch of garbage. Why am I walking by that anymore? So it doesn't stress you out necessarily. You don't get anxiety. You're just like, I don't think I want to be around the garbage anymore. I think I'm going to take another route to work. So there's no stress about it, no anxiety, right? So I lose sleep. Would you lose sleep over it if you couldn't think the thought, they shouldn't treat me that way? So would you lose sleep? Probably not, actually. Probably not. You'd probably be like, ooh, work. I got to go back to that place again where they have the big heap of garbage in the middle of the floor. Okay, well, you probably wouldn't lose sleep though. And yeah. Okay. And might, yeah, like I said, you might daydream or something. So I feel powerless. Would you feel powerless if you couldn't say, if your mind couldn't even think and you had amnesia, they shouldn't treat me that way? It's such bullshit. If you could not think that possibly at all, if that couldn't even pop in your brain, would you feel powerless? Probably not, because you'd probably also if you did reflect on it, then you'd probably think, instead of having that thought, you would probably think they're powerless. That's why they have to act that way. They're cowards. And all they can do is pick on someone else because they really just don't love themselves. Wow. I was attracted to that. Gosh, poor thing needs some help. You might look at it differently, or you might soften and say, poor guy, my poor boss who treats me like that. He must have been through some stuff. Huh. Wow. I wonder if I should just ask him sometime how he's doing. Like a different thought can come to your head now because that other one isn't even there. I get angry. Would you get angry if you couldn't think they shouldn't treat me that way? It's bullshit. Would I get angry? Well, maybe in the moment when they're acting like that, I might get angry. And that would be a healthier anger than me being angry later, right? Which is, I think it's probably healthier just to be angry in the moment than it is to be angry later and pout about it and cry to my friends about it. Okay. I bashed them to my friends. Well, would you bash them to your friends if you couldn't think that thought that they shouldn't treat you that way? Probably not. You'd probably be like, that's a boring subject or an icky subject I really don't even want to have anything to do with. Let's just talk about more interesting things. You might want to talk about other subjects, or you might want to talk about their day, or something like that, just because you'd just be like, oh, that's going to get taken care of anyway. Or it may have occurred to you that you might do affirmations, for example. So you're like, no, that's going to take care of because I have confidence in my manifestation abilities. And all I have to do is say, thank you, God, that I have an incredible job with an amazing boss I get along incredible with. And that's coming just around the corner. So why would I give a crap how he acts, I harbor, then I feel guilty, right? You wouldn't have anything to feel guilty about then, or you may or may not. Just be honest with yourself and take a look at it. I harbor resentment. Would you harbor resentment if you were doing that? Maybe, or maybe there would also be an opportunity to just tell them how you feel even. I don't know. There's no judgment here. You're just sorting through it. So I seek revenge. Would you seek revenge if you couldn't think that they shouldn't treat you that way? Same circumstance. Maybe. Seek revenge, seek revenge, seek revenge. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it would soften. Maybe that feeling of striking back might soften if that other thought couldn't cross my mind, judging them for that. Okay, so I stress eat. Would you stress eat? So just be honest with yourself and go through each one of the things that you already, and then you say, I'd put a meme up to influence his behavior. Well, if you couldn't think that he shouldn't treat you that way because it's bullshit, same circumstance, would you still put the meme up? Probably not. You probably wouldn't even bother to look up a meme because you wouldn't be out to teach them a lesson, because you wouldn't even care that they treat you that way, except that you don't want to be there anymore or be around it anymore. Okay, so then the next part of the exercise is to actually go through and do what's called turnarounds. So you take the original statement and you turn it around to every way you can possibly think of. So opposite people, opposite circumstances. If there's two parts to the sentence, like what I did, he shouldn't treat me that way. It's bullshit. So he shouldn't treat me that way could turn around. And then the next turnaround, you actually turn this one around, but you keep that one like it is. So you can play around with the sentences or the one sentence as best you can. You want to do either, you want to make one kind of statement for sure, but sometimes it's good to add an additional, and it's bullshit, on the end of it. And it pisses me off, and it, blah, like some kind of a at the end of it. So, in this case, it would be, he should treat me that way. It's not such bullshit. So then you list all the proof and evidence that that is just as true as the original thought. So maybe even more true. So then you take a look at it. It's not, he should treat me that way. He should treat me that way. Maybe it's such bullshit. He should treat me that way. It's such bullshit. What I do, maybe. Because the way that I come through sometimes, I act like I own the world. I act pretty confident. And I'm trying to overcompensate for how insecure I feel. But I walk through there sometimes and I could see where people might think that I'm stuck up when actually I'm quite insecure. I could see that. And if I thought that I was kind of being an asshole, I would be treating me that way too. I might put me down so that I would feel better about this other person I feel is putting me down. And it's like you start to realize the dynamic there and how people can jump to conclusions about everybody's compensating for an insecurity there. It's like the boss is feeling insecure about you coming in all confident and cool, collected, acting like you got your shit together. And you're only doing that because you feel like your coworkers are looking down on you, thinking you're not doing enough and you're feeling insecure. So then the boss thinks he's insecure. So he has to come up and fluff himself up and act like the big old boss, right? So you're taking a look at human behavior. You're examining yourself. You're becoming more self-aware of all of it, right? So then that's one. Two, he should treat me that way. It's not bullshit. Okay, so he should treat me that way. It's not bullshit. How else do I know that that's true? How do I know that he should treat me that way? Well, maybe it's divinely guided. Maybe I'm supposed to learn how to talk to people like that, talk to bullies. Maybe I'm supposed to learn my self-worth. Maybe I'm supposed to learn how to be truly confident, not a kind of fake confidence where I'm, making up for something. Yeah. Then you write that down. What's another way that I could say he should treat me that way? He could very well, be here to teach me a lesson, but it could also be that he's teaching me a lesson so that I can teach other people. Like maybe I'm becoming a leader. Maybe he's putting me through this purposely because God put him or ordained him to be in my life to fulfill this purpose, to train me as a leader. Yeah, that could be true. That could be true too. Oh, I should be treated this way because I've treated other people this way in the past. Maybe God wanted to show me what that's like to be treated that way so that I don't continue to act that way sometimes. Maybe it was shown to me so I could be like, oh, that's how I used to be. I could see that. I could see that. What's another reason he should treat me that way? Maybe he should treat me that way so that even other people who are watching, maybe other people who are observing it get to see it and they see what a shitty place it is to work and they want out. They're like, any place that would treat somebody so nice that way is not a place that I want to work for anymore. And they're just like, I'm out of here. This just confirms what I was already thinking. I don't like the way she treats her, or I don't like the way he talks to her, or whatever. Or so it could reflect another one would be that it shows other people the abuse they're taking in their own life. If they do the self-reflection, they might look at that dynamic and be like, oh, that's really crappy. I'm just so glad I have the husband I have. It could be work in a good way like that, or it could mean like, man, why am I putting up with that? I think my cousin treats me that way. Wow. Because, what'll happen is your coworkers will start to say, your coworkers will start to take that and project it also because they maybe don't want to look at how their cousin is treating them or their own husband or whatever. So they'll tell you up and down, you need to change that. You shouldn't let him treat you that way. You shouldn't blah, 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 blah. When in actuality, they're really looking in the mirror at themselves saying, you should not you shouldn't be treated that way. You should also stand up for yourself. You should also have some boundaries here. So you get to start to see all of this different stuff as you do some reflecting on all of this. So keep going as deep as you can with it and keep thinking these things through. And then you'll do another turnaround. So there's like, he shouldn't treat me that way. It's not bullshit, or he shouldn't treat me that way, or he should treat me that way because it is bullshit what I'm doing. So anyway, you just turn it around to all these different angles and stuff. Now, if you want to really master this and you're in a relationship, then I'm going to give you another tip. And by the way, while you're doing the exercise, do not let yourself go into stories. So you may feel distracted. That's the ego too. It wants you to get off of doing this exercise. It doesn't like it because it knows that it's starting to unravel everything and it's starting to reset all your neurotransmitters. So your ego is going to panic and be like, think about that phone call you need to make. Oh shit, think about that other thing over here. Or yeah. And isn't that such an injustice that they do that? Can you even believe that they do that? Whatever you do, do not just stay completely laser focused on doing the exercise and only answering plain, simple answers, period. Don't let your mind wander. Don't feel like you're justified. Don't feel like, do not explore the story. Okay. You're doing the exercise. It is very strictly, simply listing things down and expanding your mind to the possibilities of all these different turnarounds. Okay. And all these different angles. So back to the mastery part. If you want to get really good at it, and if you really want to blow your own mind and go to a whole other level of realization, you go through the exercise all over again, only pretend to be somebody else saying it about you. So it could be your spouse, or it could be your best friend you're complaining about, or your boss, right? So let's say it's a boss. So you go back through and you say, oh boy, here we go. And you're going to pretend that now she doesn't say this. She doesn't tell you to do this. This is something I came up with for myself that I was like, wow, this is huge. So you go back through and you say, she shouldn't treat me that way. It's such bullshit. So he's thinking of you. Your boss is looking at you this way, that you shouldn't be treating them that way. It's bullshit. So then you list all the advantages, and actually you read back through. So this is your boss now. We're going to read through the list and we're going to pretend that it's him now. He gets anxiety thinking about it, about how he has to face you at work. And he really doesn't like the way that you treat him. He thinks it's terrible. He loses sleep. He feels powerless, right? He's the boss and you're sitting there talking back or whatever you're doing. He's just like, I can't believe that I don't have any power in this situation. I get angry. He gets angry. He bashes you to his friends, perhaps. And it could be in a different way. Maybe he doesn't bash you to his friends, but maybe he goes out with his friends and plays racquetball and hits the racket really hard, or hits the ball really hard. So you got to think outside that. It's not necessarily literal. There can be a twist to it. Okay. Then I feel guilty. So maybe he's real nice to you after he treats you that way. And the next day he comes in and says something really nice, or he gets you coffee or something. Right. And then you'll go, oh my God, it's true. I think he does he does feel that way. He feels guilty because the next day he always does this or this, or tells me how he can't wait to have me the leader of the team the next time we have a group come together. I harbor resentment. Yeah, I can feel that sometimes when he's walking around the office, that he's still pissed off or something. I seek revenge. Yeah, sometimes I feel like he puts me up to things to where I'll fall on my face and he can be like, he stress eats. Yeah, he's gained like 20 pounds in the last few months. Wow, he's stress eating because of me. And then you say memes to influence his behavior. Whoa, I did see a post on his Instagram the other day and he sounded like he was talking to me. Oh my God, we're doing the same thing to each other and we're just not communicating it. I wonder what would happen if we had a heart to heart. Oh my gosh. Wow, we're going through the same damn thing. And like, it'll just like this expansion occurs in you. The more you do this exercise on a regular basis, you have all these epiphanies and realizations, and that just empower you and make you feel strong and make you feel like you could face anything and talk to anybody about anything. So just try this out before you do as many turnarounds as you can, and you try to list at least 10 to 15 of the proof and evidence that turnaround is true. Okay. All the different ones I was talking about. So you'll do turn it around to the opposite words, turn it around to the opposite people, turn it around to so many different times. So it's going to take you 30 to 45 minutes when you're good at it. Okay. But anyway, you want to make sure that you, what was I going to say? Do it every day, but then you also make sure that you, I don't know what I was going to say. Something about, hang on a second, it'll come to me. Okay, let me pause it. Hang on. Well, one thing that you can do too is just make sure that you might have those little sidetracky thoughts as you go, or you might have an epiphany or realization, and then you write down what you're going to do about it, or you write down the story, or you might even write down another stressful thought to do. That way, it's out of your head and it's on paper, and you can go back to it later to do that later. Okay. Okay, so I can't remember what else I was going to tell you guys. It's going to bother me. It's going to jump in my head later. Okay, so just do the best job. Well, yeah, go back through and do the exercises as best you can every time. You'll get better every time. Just try to go deeper every single time. And you'll start to have a sense of humor about things. You'll start to be a lot lighter. You'll start to feel really empowered. You'll start to have boundaries. You'll start to be more self-aware. You'll catch yourself in your stress eating. And instead of, oh, here's what I was going to say, I knew it would come back. Before you ever go talk to somebody that you're upset with, do your best to go do Byron Katie's work on it. Do this self-inquiry process, or the work is what it's called too. Go do the work on it. Go, go process it so that you can have a really much better perspective and a grasp on the situation, and you'll be coming from the heart. So that way, once you see the whole big picture in a better light, and you've dropped into your heart more, and you realize, oh my gosh, we're doing the same thing, or oh my gosh, once you have all these epiphanies and realizations, you'll have softened. And then when you go to approach the person about whatever's going on, you're going to be much softer, much more receptive, much more cooperative. You're not going to be like, if you go confront somebody and you're still feeling like you're wrong, they're wrong, or you've been wronged or anything like that, your heart's going to beat really fast. You're going to be scared to confront them. And you're going to put off a vibe that could get a negative reaction from them because you're anticipating something bad happening, or a battle or something, a conflict. But if you can do Byron Katie's work on it beforehand, it'll totally neutralize any venom or toxicity in the vibes between you guys. And you'll just sit down there and you'll just be totally unassuming and just be like, you know what? I want to talk to you about this thing. And I did process. I thought to myself, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't, but I mean, I guess it's possible. I might in that situation. So you're going to be much, much more lighthearted, much more open, much more airy, much more grounded, much more mature. Like everything will go so much better if you go do the work on it. And if you don't feel like it went well, okay, so now you've had the confrontation, and you've gone to set the boundaries, or you've told them, look, I've worked on this, and you really did come from your heart. You did everything right. You feel like you did really well and everything, and they still did something to where you're just like, man, then they didn't even listen to me. I even went in with my full heart, and I had processed it with the work and everything, and it still went bad. Go back through and figure out the stressful thought to that. They should be cooperating with me, for frick's sake. They should have said they were sorry. They should have admitted what they did. They should have, they should have offered to do something for me. It's wrong. They should have offered to do something. This is wrong. Okay, got it? So I think you guys are catching the gist. I feel like this video is really going to help clarify some of that stuff that got you guys stuck before. So please go back through and give it a shot again. It's very, very transformative. It's incredibly freeing. It is next to free. Just buy one of her books so that you understand the process of letting go of blame, and becoming more, self-responsible, personally responsible, self-aware, all of that good stuff. It'll help you get real. It'll help you get real reading the book. It'll set the tone for you being able to be honest with yourself, really honest with yourself. And then, some of you guys, I feel like some of you guys might even become facilitators teaching her work. I think it should be taught in every single school. Don't go to a counselor. I swear to God, you guys, counselors, sorry if you're watching this and you're a counselor. If you're a counselor and you're not teaching Byron Katie's work, shame on you. Seriously. because they're just, and just like the pharmaceutical industry and all that stuff, they're just out to make money off of it. They've come up with all these terms and things that they call things, and diagnoses and all this stuff. Yes, some of it is valid. Some of it is valid, but a lot of the ways that they deal with it, like drugs, for example, or putting you in an insane asylum or all that other stuff, a lot of this can get worked out by this type of an exercise that completely frees you of it. Like you could have just about anything going on, and being able to process this for yourself, by yourself, completely empowered as a sovereign, organic human being. You can take a damn pad of paper and a pen and be a free person forever. You could even teach your best friend how to do this, and you guys could go back and forth on a road trip, verbally going back and forth, taking turns, lifting a burden off of one another. You choose a stressful thought. I did this once with a 10-hour road trip with one of my best friends a while ago. And he was like, he never even had heard of it or anything. And I just was like, well, come up with a stressful thought. So I trained him to come up with this. And at first it was a little awkward for him, but after a little bit, he was like getting better than me. And he was like, whoa. And then he'd come up with a good turnaround for me. If I was coming up with something, I was like, whoa, why would he do it? Oh, it's because of this. And I bet you that. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I have you here, because you came up with stuff I never even would have come up with, So sometimes it's really, really helpful to tell a friend how to do it as well. Spread the word. The more people who can do this, our world would change rapidly if people were to just do this work. And I mean, if any of you are humanitarians and you end up being a facilitator, I mean, maybe, get this in schools. I would love to see this exercise in schools, because it would make a profound impact. So I love you guys. That's why I did this. And have yourselves a beautiful day. I hope this helped you better understand the benefits of it, as well as how to do it correctly, so that you really get to the heart of things and you make a lot of progress, rather than feeling frustrated that it didn't really do much for you. It didn't do much for you because somehow your ego got in there and sabotaged you. So just now that you know the tricks of the ego, hopefully you'll be wise to it. You'll stick to it. You'll put your blinders on, and you'll do it every single day and really commit to doing it. And then once you start having the epiphanies and awarenesses, you'll never be able to live without it. I swear. It's super powerful and helpful. So, all right, guys, have a beautiful day, week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.